Now, a new witness will take the stand this morning in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial. Just last week, Tumelo Madlala left the witness box in tears after enduring 3 weeks in the witness box. Madlala insisted that accused number 2, Bongani Ntanzi, is one of the alleged intruders. He's also denied protecting anyone in the house. But let's get more from senior reporter eNCA Silindelo Masikane. Slee, good morning to you. Now, let's just talk about some of the highlights from the previous week. Slee, what stood out?
Well, a lot stood out, in fact, Tumelo, where we actually saw on the first day of us resuming with the November sitting of the trial, Magdalene Munsami for Khumalo once again requesting to be allowed back inside the courtroom on a watch brief, and she had requested transcripts as well as access to the dockets to be able to, conduct this watch brief for her client. But this request denied not only by counsel, but the judge, in fact, upholding his ruling in terms of her presence inside court, saying she could return if or when Khumalo is called to testify, but like other counsel that is on watch brief for their clients, she would not be afforded more privileges than others. But also, of course, the cross-examination of Tumelo Madlala resuming once more, where we saw the defense again doing their best to poke holes in not only his testimony, but of course the state's case against their clients, saying that Tumelo Madlala is an evasive witness, saying that he was not answering questions, that he was quite argumentative with counsel, also saying that the court cannot really rely on his account of what happened, because in several of his statements in court, in his evidence in chief, it's not consistent really with what he said in several statements made before the police. So they were saying to the court, or trying to show the court rather, in terms of Titi Tobane and Advocate Zandile Mshololo, that Tumelo Madlala's account of what transpired is questionable, saying that he may also have an agenda, because we know that there's a second docket that's looked into the murder of Meyiwa, and it accuses those who were in the house of having a case to answer to. Shololo putting many questions to Madlala in terms of his character, questioning why he participated in a Netflix documentary, basically accusing him of using his friend's death to make a quick buck, and not actually sharing these proceeds with the family of Meyiwa or his children, on several occasions, in fact, saying that he was lying to the courts, that he was trying to protect himself, and that in fact those who were in the house were under the influence of alcohol. So how can the court even trust his doc identification of accused number 2?
Speaking of Titi Tobane, Slee, has there been any progress in the crowdfunding requested by him for accused 1 to 4?
Not at this stage. In fact, I had a conversation with Tobane yesterday to check, in fact, if there was any progress or movement in terms of perhaps some funds already being made into the accounts that he cited in his letter. And he says at this point there has not been any funds deposited, but that he also has not made a decision on withdrawing at this stage, saying that at this point he's still going to give that process a bit more time. You would remember that in that letter he said that if he cannot get financial instructions, then he may be forced to withdraw. But he's saying that at this point he has not made that decision.
And just lastly, Slee, do you have any information on who then is likely to take the stand?
Well, at this point, it is a guessing game, Tumelo, but I think we can perhaps look at some of what transpired last week, where Sally Burdett had a conversation with Chico Twala. That's the father of Longo Twala, one of the 7 people who were in that house. He indicated to Sally that his son has received a phone call from the investigator of docket 636 to prepare to come to court. But we also know that attorney Wesley Rogers has also presented himself to the court court on a watch brief for Mthokozisi Twala. That's one of Senzo Meyiwa's friends, who's also one of the 7 who was in the house. So it does seem as though perhaps the state may be calling another person who was in the house, but we may also see maybe forensic experts being called to testify. So at this point, we'll await proceedings which are set to begin at 10 a.m. To actually find out exactly who's the state's next witness. This would be the 4th witness to be called to testify. So we will, of course, bring those visuals live when we do begin at 10 a.m.
All right, thank you so much, Sri. We'll leave it there for now. Silindelo Masikane outside court for us, of course, giving us the very latest regarding the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial. Still a guessing game at this point, who's expected next to take to the stand. But we'll be sure to give you those updates right here on eNCA.